Well, hello, folks. This is Jeffrey Darty, the Christian Whistleblower, and this is Apostle Paul Antichrist, a study tackling the tremendous, amazing, unimaginable reality that the so-called Apostle Paul co-opted the original Yeshua message and crafted a fear and guilt-based control matrix of which we are still living in. He took the message of us being born with the spark of divinity within, replaced that with the lie of original sin, created this hell punishment, and used those two things to rob us of our freedom and keep us under control of religion. Those days, my friends, are over. For the first time in 2,000 years, this message is being proclaimed wall to wall, treetop tall, right here by the Christian Whistleblower, and we are going to make this known to you. This is broadcast number 2 in what will no doubt be a long-running series. I recommend that you watch program 1 and that you watch them in order, no matter where you pick up. If you'll just subscribe to this channel, you'll be made aware of the new broadcasts. We're doing the Apostle Paul Antichrist. We're doing the Revelation Reality. We're also doing the original teachings of Yeshua. And of course, we do have the NCK Center. And we have now over 280 videos on YouTube, all of them proclaiming the message of freedom and liberty from religion, and allow us to take charge of our own lives and to be our own gurus, guide our own spirits, and master our own ascension. So let's talk a little bit about the things that led up to Paul coming in and being on this grand scale. And one of the things that we need to look at is Alexander the Great. I mentioned in the first broadcast that Alexander the Great spared Jerusalem. And what this did is Alexander the Great was on his way to Egypt to do battle with Egypt. His father had warned him not to allow the Jews to be a thorn in his side because they were always prickly fellows. And in 356 to 323 BC, Alexander the Great went to Jerusalem with the idea of destroying it. And we're looking here in the Jewish encyclopedia, so you know it's not just something I'm making up. And what happened was that there was a high priest named Jaddua, you see right here. And Jaddua had a warning, had a dream that he saw that Alexander was going to come and meet with him. And what he did was go to some of the prophecies in Daniel. Specifically here you can see the book of Daniel, right in Daniel chapter 6, where Daniel declared that one of the Greeks should destroy the empire of the Persians, and that the person would be Alexander. So Jaddua was able to show Alexander proof within the biblical scriptures, at least something that Alexander accepted as proof within the biblical scriptures, that he was talked about in the religion of the Jews, chosen by the God, if you will, of the Jews. And as a result, not only did Alexander decide, you know what, I'm not going to destroy Jerusalem, he also exempted Jerusalem from taxes, and he also sent great, great amounts of tribute to Jerusalem as well. So, of course, when this happened, the Jewish people felt very good about Alexander. And it led to, even what the Jewish encyclopedia says, the introducing of Hellenic culture. And Hellenic culture meant Greek culture being accepted in the Israeli culture and in Jerusalem. Somebody asked, well, Jeff, what in the world does that have to do with Apostle Paul Antichrist? See, this is why most of you have no idea what really happened in the Bible. Most of you have no idea what really happened in the New Testament, because most of you are content on pastors and priests to tell you what They want you to know, just like you're content with news anchors to tell you what they want to know. You know more about who's getting voted off an island or who's in first place in some various sports league than you know about the things that affect your spiritual life. And if you can't see the folly in that, and if you're not ready to put more emphasis on your own spirituality than you are on these other things, and there's really nothing for you here, and you should just run along back to the kiddies table, because I can't help you if you don't care. Because here's the thing for you, brother and sister, ain't nobody coming back to save you. You have to save yourself. Now, the reason why it's important to realize that Apostle Paul, Antichrist, goes all the way back to Alexander the Great, because of this sparing of Jerusalem by Alexander, there was a group that was known as the Herodians. And the Herodians, if you read right here in Wikipedia, it was the Hellenistic Jewish sect. And you've probably heard of King Herod. Well, King Herod the Great became the leader of this group. And of course, his descendants continued that leadership. And all the way down to Herod Antipas, who was the king, although he never actually held the title king. He was tetrarch of Judea, but he wasn't in fact holding the place of the king. He just wasn't very powerful. So the Romans, in Rome, there was only one king, and that was Caesar in Rome. But all the way down to the time of when Yeshua showed up in Jerusalem, a Herodian, a descendant of the Herodian dynasty, Herod Antipas, was there in Jerusalem sitting on the throne. And as you can see here, that the Herodians are mentioned twice in the New Testament. And here's the real part that is very, very interesting. And here's how we get to Apostle Paul, Antichrist. And this is why you have to understand, we saw last time Paul was a Roman citizen. We saw last time Paul was a Jew. We saw last time Paul was educated by the great Rabbi Gamaliel, one of the leading rabbis in all of Judaism. And right here we see that, according to Professor Robert Eisenman of California State University, Paul the Apostle was a member of the family of Herod the Great. See, it's not just me making things up. It's me showing you exactly from the historical record. There's a connection between Paul and an individual that Josephus called Saulus. Remember who Paul was? Saul of Tarsus. And Paul himself said in Romans 16:11, "Greet Herodian, my kinsman." How about that? And we're going to do this cold. I didn't plan to do this, but let's look at Romans 16:11 in BibleHub.com, and let's see exactly what Greek on that is. Romans 16:11. See, this is how you study the Bible, and this is how you don't listen to what people tell you. This is when you study it by yourself and for yourself, so you can have a real understanding of what's going on. In Romans 16, we're going to go up, we're going to look at just Romans 16:11 here real quickly. King James versions, Romans 16:11, written by Paul, and Paul says, "Salute Herodian, my kinsman." Salute Herodian, my kinsman. That looks suspiciously like King Herod, but let's get into the original Greek of it, and let's take a look and see what it actually says. And remember, we want to go to 16:11 because that's where this name Herodian comes in. And let's take a look and see what it says. Salute Herodian. Herodian. Well, it doesn't really tell us. It just tells us it's Herod. So I am in agreement with the scholar from Cal State University. Paul was of the family of Herod, and that connected Paul to ecclesiastical Jerusalem, political Jerusalem, and of course also to Rome. And as I go to Apostle Paul Antichrist, just to get the figures right, when Yeshua showed up in Jerusalem, Rome ruled from the Caspian Sea, from Egypt to Brittany, Rome ruled 60 million people. Of that number, only 5 million were Roman citizens, and Jews in the empire suffered heavy persecution. In AD 19, they had been expelled from Rome, and there was only 8 in 100 residents of the Roman Empire as a whole that were citizens, and a Jewish Roman citizen was virtually unheard of. They were quite literally the scarcest class of people to ever walk on the face of the earth. Paul of Tarsus was one of those people. So you can see that Paul was a very, very slippery character indeed. You can see that Paul is a very interesting character indeed. And you can see the backdrop of what amounted to Apostle Paul, Antichrist. We've just scratched the surface, and we've already shown you amazing historical facts. We're here to show you that Paul did co-opt the original message of the Yeshua movement and has created a fear and guilt-based control matrix in his religion in both the Roman Catholic and the Roman Protestant forms, and also within Judaism and also in Islam. So we're showing you how to get free if you want to be free. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. We'll continue on with this. Subscribe, like, give us a thumbs up. It does help our numbers on YouTube and helps us get this message out to more people. And we'll be back with another episode. And until then, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower, encouraging and really equipping you to unindoctrinate yourself.